They say you can't smell memory. They're wrong. Even now, 11 years on, I wake up some mornings and I can smell it. Rice, rotting rice mixed with dysentery and death. That smell lived in my nose for 3.5 years. Sometimes I think it never left. Singapore fell in February 1942. I was there. 23 years old, thought I knew what war meant. Thought surrender meant safety. The Gibraltar of the East, they'd called it. Impregnable. I was 23 years old, fresh-faced, proud to wear the uniform. My mum cried when I shipped out from Brisbane, but I told her not to worry. I'd be home for Christmas, I said. Maybe next Christmas. I believed it too. We thought we were ready. We'd trained. We'd drilled. We had our rifles and our orders. The Japanese were supposed to be inferior soldiers. That's what they told us. Poor eyesight, they said. Couldn't fight at night. Copied everything from the West, but couldn't innovate. We were wrong about that, too. Seems like that's a pattern in war, being wrong about everything that matters. When Singapore fell, it happened so fast, faster than anyone thought possible. One moment we're defending the island, the next we're laying down our arms. Surrender. That word tastes like ashes even now, 11 years later. I remember standing there in the tropical heat, watching the Japanese soldiers march in. Small men, most of them, but hard, eyes like flint. They looked at us with something beyond contempt, like we were already dead and just didn't know it yet. They marched us through the streets. The locals watched from their windows. Some looked sad. Some looked relieved. Some looked away. I thought I was going to a prisoner camp. Rest of the war in boredom, maybe, but safe enough. The Geneva Convention and all that. Proper treatment. Red Cross parcels. I was wrong about that, too. The boy who surrendered in Singapore, he died in that camp. What came back 3.5 years later wasn't really me anymore. They packed us into railway cars like cattle, worse than cattle. 50, 60 men in spaces meant for maybe 20. No water, no latrine. Just bodies pressed against bodies in the suffocating heat. Men died standing up in those cars. Couldn't fall down. There wasn't room. You'd realize the bloke next to you had stopped breathing hours ago, but he was still there, held upright by the press of living flesh around him. The journey took 4 days, or was it 5? Time stopped meaning much after the first day. Some men went mad, started screaming, clawing at the walls. The guards would open the doors at stations, drag out the bodies, dead and living alike if they made too much noise, and then seal us back in. I learned something in those railway cars. I learned how much a human being can endure and still keep breathing. I learned that the body keeps going long after the mind has given up. When they finally opened the doors, the sunlight was blinding. We stumbled out onto a platform somewhere in Thailand. Changi had been bad, overcrowded, short rations, but still organized. Still felt like a proper POW camp. This was different. They lined us up, and a Japanese officer walked down the line. Didn't speak English, but he didn't need to. He'd point at men randomly. You, 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 you. Those men were pulled aside. We didn't know why then. Later, we learned they were being selected for the railway. The death railway, though we didn't call it that yet. I wasn't selected that day. I thought I was lucky. The camp itself. Christ. Bamboo huts with atap roofs that leaked when it rained. And it rained. Monsoon season in the jungle rains like God's trying to wash the world away. The ground turned to mud that sucked at your feet. Everything rotted. Your clothes, your boots, your skin. They put us to work immediately. Clearing jungle. Building the railway that would connect Burma to Thailand. The Emperor's Railway. We were the expendable labor. There were Australians, British, Dutch, Americans too, thousands of us. We were all just bodies to them. Tools that ate rice and sometimes broke. The Japanese guards, some were professional, distant. Others seemed to enjoy it. The beatings, the humiliations. There was one they called the Undertaker, tall for a Japanese man with dead eyes. He'd find reasons to punish men, any reason, no reason. That first night in camp, lying on bare bamboo slats, listening to men cough and cry and pray, I understood something. We weren't prisoners of war. We were already dead. Some of us just hadn't stopped moving yet. The work started before dawn. Every day, no rest days, no Sundays, just work until you dropped, then work some more. We'd march out to the railway line, miles through the jungle in the dark. Your boots would fall apart within weeks. Then you worked barefoot on sharp rocks, in mud, in your own filth. The Japanese had a quota. So many meters of railway per day. Didn't matter if men were sick. Didn't matter if men were dying. The quota had to be met. I watched Charlie Morrison, big bloke from Perth, strong as an ox. I watched him swing a hammer for 12 hours straight with malaria burning through him. His hands were bleeding, wrapped in rags. He was shaking so hard he could barely stand. But he kept swinging because if you stopped, they beat you. And if you still didn't get up, they beat you harder. Charlie died 3 days later. Malaria and exhaustion and something in him that just gave up. The diseases. God, the diseases. Malaria, dysentery, cholera, beriberi, tropical ulcers that ate through your leg down to the bone. We had no medicine. The Japanese didn't care. You either recovered or you died. And either way, you went back to work as soon as you could stand. I got dysentery in the 3rd month. You'd be working and suddenly you'd soil yourself. No warning, no control. Just liquid fire pouring out of you, and there was nothing you could do. The shame of it. But after a while, shame dies too. Everyone had it. We were all walking skeletons, covered in our own filth. The food. 2 cups of rice a day if you were lucky. Sometimes it had weevils in it. We ate the weevils. Protein. Sometimes we got a thin soup. Mostly water with a few vegetable scraps floating in it. Men would fight over an extra spoonful. I saw a man, don't remember his name anymore, his face is gone from my memory. I saw him steal another man's rice. Got caught. The guards made us watch while they beat him. Bamboo poles. They beat him until he stopped moving, and then they beat him some more. Left him in the sun as a lesson. We buried him the next morning. No coffin, just a shallow hole in the jungle, one of thousands. Tommy Chen was my mate. Half Chinese bloke from Sydney. Always had a joke, even when there was nothing to laugh about. He kept us sane, Tommy did. Reminded us we were still human. He got a tropical ulcer on his shin. Started small. Within 2 weeks, it was the size of my fist, eating through the muscle. The smell, like rotten meat, because that's what it was. His own leg rotting while he was still alive. The medical officer, prisoner like us, doctor from somewhere, doing his best with nothing, he said the leg had to come off. No anesthetic, no proper tools, just a saw and some boiled rags. Tommy screamed for an hour during that amputation. I held him down, felt his bones break under my hands from thrashing. His screams are still in my head, still wake up hearing them sometimes. He died anyway, infection. 2 days after they took his leg. I stopped learning names after Tommy. The months blurred together. Wet season, dry season, wet season again. The railway kept growing. We kept dying. You learned to recognize when a man was finished. Not dead yet, but finished. You'd see it in their eyes first, that 1,000-yard stare, looking at nothing. They'd stop talking, stop eating, even when there was food. Just lie on their bamboo slat and wait. We called it going around the bend. Once a man went around the bend, he usually had a week, maybe 2. The body would follow where the mind had already gone. I came close myself. There was a period, don't know how long, couple of months maybe, where I stopped caring, stopped trying. Would have been easy to just let go. Lie down in that hut and not get up when they came for work detail. But something in me wouldn't quit. Wasn't bravery, wasn't hope either. I think it was just stubbornness. Pure, bloody-minded stubbornness. My body kept moving because it didn't know how to stop. The bashings were constant. You'd get bashed for working too slow. Bashed for looking at a guard wrong. Bashed for no reason at all except a guard was in a bad mood. They used anything. Bamboo poles, rifle butts, shovels, their fists. You learned to fall correctly, to protect your head and your kidneys, to make the right noises so they'd think they'd hurt you enough and stop. It was a skill, a survival skill. Some men tried to escape, early on, mostly. They never made it far. The jungle was as much a prison as the guards. No food, no water, no idea which direction to go. The locals would turn you in for a reward, and when the Japanese caught you, they made examples, public executions, made us all watch, wanted us to see what happened to men who tried to run. I learned not to look at the faces, learned to let my mind go somewhere else while my body stood at attention. Dissociation, the doctors call it now. Back then, it was just survival. The railway was finished in October 1943. 16 months of hell, and it was done. We thought things might get better after that. They didn't. They moved some of us to other camps. Others stayed to maintain the tracks. The work never stopped. The dying never stopped. We just kept grinding away day after day, waiting for something. Liberation, death, anything to end it. My breaking point came in the winter of 44. Or was it 45? The years had run together like the mud and the rain. There was a kid. Couldn't have been more than 19. Fresh capture. They were still bringing in prisoners from other campaigns. He had that look the rest of us had lost. Hope. Fear, yes, but still hope underneath it. He reminded me of myself. That boy from Brisbane who thought he'd be home for Christmas. The kid got caught stealing food from the guards' supplies. He was starving, we all were, and he took a rice ball, just one rice ball. They tied him to a post in the center of camp, left him there in the sun for 2 days, no water, no shade. We had to walk past him to get to work detail, watch him burn and blister and beg. On the second day, he started calling for his mother, crying for her. "Mum, please, Mum, I'm sorry." Over and over, his voice getting weaker. I walked past him 6 times that day, going to work, coming back, going again. Each time I looked straight ahead, didn't stop, didn't offer water even though I had some. Because if I did, they'd tie me up next to him. He died on the 3rd morning. And I felt nothing. That's when I knew. That's when I understood what I'd become. I'd watched a boy, someone's son, someone's brother. I'd watched him die slowly, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no guilt. Just nothing. The humanity had been beaten out of me, starved out, worked out. I was a walking corpse, just like Charlie, just like Tommy, just like that kid. I was already dead. My body just hadn't gotten the message yet. I don't remember much after that, not clearly. It's like watching someone else's life through dirty glass. I was there, but I wasn't there. Working, eating, sleeping, but not really present for any of it. Some men found God in that camp, prayed every night, found meaning in the suffering. I found nothing. The God I'd been raised to believe in, he wasn't in that jungle. Or if he was, he'd turned his face away. And I couldn't blame him. I'd have turned away too. August 1945. We heard rumors first. Whispers from the guards, from the locals who brought supplies. Something had happened. Something big. The war might be ending. We didn't believe it. Couldn't let ourselves believe it. We'd learned not to hope. Then one morning the guards were gone, just Gone. The gates were open. We walked out, those of us who could still walk, and there were no guards to stop us. I weighed 93 pounds when they found us. I'd been 170 when I enlisted. I looked like one of those photographs from the concentration camps in Europe. Skeleton with skin stretched over it, eyes too big for my skull. They flew us to hospitals, fed us carefully. Our stomachs couldn't handle real food anymore, gave us clean beds and medicine, and told us we were heroes, survivors. I didn't feel like a survivor. I felt like a ghost. My mum didn't recognize me at first when I got home, stood there in the doorway staring, and I saw it in her face, horror, pity, grief. She was looking at her son, but seeing a stranger. Something that wore his face, but wasn't him anymore. She never asked what happened. None of them did. They didn't want to know, and I couldn't have told them anyway. How do you explain what it's like to stop being human? How do you describe the smell of your friend's leg rotting off, the sound of a boy crying for his mother while he died of thirst? You don't. You just carry it. I got a job, got married, had kids, did all the things you're supposed to do, looked normal from the outside. But I never slept right again. Never could stand being in small spaces. Couldn't eat rice for 30 years. The smell would bring it all back. Sometimes I see my kids wasting food and I have to leave the room. They don't understand, can't understand. They've never been hungry, really hungry, hungry enough to eat weevils and be grateful for them. The war ended in 1945. That's what the history books say. But for us, those of us who were in those camps, the war never ended. It's still there, in the smell of rice, in the sound of rain on a roof, in the darkness when I close my eyes. 3.5 years in hell, 11 years since liberation. And I'm still not home. The boy who enlisted in 1941, full of pride and duty and dreams, he's still in that jungle, buried with Tommy and Charlie and that kid and all the others whose names I forced myself to forget. What came back? What's sitting here talking to you now? This is just the echo, the ghost. They gave us medals, threw parades, called us heroes. But there are no heroes in a POW camp. Just men who died and men who didn't. And sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. We survived. That's what they say. We survived. But survival isn't victory. It's just existing. Still breathing when so many stopped. And some nights, when the dreams are bad and I wake up smelling that smell, tasting that fear, some nights I wonder if the ones who died were the lucky ones. They got to stop. They got to rest, and we never did.